It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene with Scott Puryear. Now here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome into Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I'm Scott Puryear. Appreciate you listening and very proud to announce that we have a sponsor. Our thanks to Fast Break Sports, which is the largest selection of cards and supplies in Southwest Missouri, for jumping on board and being our ATO Sports Scene sponsor. Thank you, Fast Break Sports. It's a great move on your part because I will probably spend whatever you're spending on cards and increasing my collection weekly or monthly at Fast Break. Bought a bunch of cards for our new grandson, Jordan Walker, Cardinal cards. Stocked up on those, hoping he turns out to be what we saw in Springfield and go on to become a legend and maybe have some good investment property there. So big thanks to Fast Break Sports for their sponsorship of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. We start off each time with our look ahead to what's coming up this week in the world of sports locally, regionally, and nationally. We start out with the Lady Bears are on fire. They sit at 12-4 overall. They're 6-1 in the Valley, and they are a perfect 10-0 at home at Great Southern Bank Arena. They'll hit the road this weekend for big games. They go to Belmont on Friday. Belmont's 13-5, and then a very solid Murray State on Sunday. So a big week for Coach Beth Cunningham's Lady Bears as they hit the road and try to keep that hot streak going. Good to see that they're getting production now out of freshman Cayman Beckemeyer from Republic. She's going to be a star over there, and she's kind of getting her feet underneath her. She had her first double-figure game, so a shout-out to Cayman there. And also Lacey Stokes, the local kid from Mount Vernon, who's really been a big boost for that program this year coming in after transferring from Missouri Southern. If the Lady Bears on fire, it's pretty much been a dumpster fire with the Bears here of late. They're 10-9 overall. They'll take a 2-6 Valley record into a Wednesday night home game with the league's best team, Drake. They visit Valparaiso on Saturday. Things have not looked great for Coach Dana Ford's Bears there. We'll touch on that a little bit later as well, but they need to kind of find a little spark here if they're going to get it going for the month of February and the postseason tournament push there. Finally, the Chiefs are back in the AFC Championship game for a sixth straight year. They've got a tall task ahead this Sunday when they take on the Baltimore Ravens, that great Baltimore defense and quarterback Lamar Jackson Sunday afternoon in the AFC title game in Baltimore. Another road trip for the Chiefs. They got it done in Buffalo on Sunday. Big finish there and defensive stands late that sent the Chiefs on back to the AFC title game. Will be a tough task in Baltimore, but again, the Chiefs have a guy named Mahomes playing quarterback, so never would bet against that. Should be a dandy. In the NFC title game, it's Detroit versus San Francisco. Right after the Chiefs take on the Ravens, that should also be a very entertaining matchup. Don't count out the Lions. It would not be a stunner if the two road teams emerge victorious this week. Our special guest today on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene is Drury Baseball head coach Scott Nasby. He's in his 12th season as the boss of the Panthers baseball program, and among his many accomplishments to this point has led the Panthers to 5 NCAA tournaments and a couple of Great Lakes Valley Conference championships. But to me, the most important accomplishment may be what he's done this offseason, restoring Meador Park to playing capabilities and the return of the Drury Baseball program to Meador for this coming spring season. Scott, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
You know, it's not enough in today's world where you've got to go replace players, find players, hope the NIL deals haven't filtered down, do all that, schedule teams, get uniforms, and then you got to go build your own baseball field. It's been a pretty busy year for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a little more than a year with this process going on, but it's been something that the program has talked about for years, and the city's talked about for years, and decided to go ahead and go for it and see if we could get there, and we're about done with this first phase of it. So we're really excited to get that up and running here in about 8 to 10 more days of good weather.
Good deal, and it's Mark Worley Field at Meador Park, correct?
Yep, Mark Worley Field at Meador Park. The whole complex is still Meador, but for the next 10 years at least, will be Mark Worley Field, courtesy of our lead gift from Brian Majors.
And artificial turf throughout. Tell us about some of the other improvements to your new Meador Park.
Yeah, so it's full turf, and then it's AstroTurf. So AstroTurf is pretty much the highest quality turf you can get, and then we upgraded the infield as well to even a higher quality one that they have, so it lasts a little bit longer. You know, the life on the turf it's got an 8-year warranty, but there's going to be plenty of spots that'll wear out, and you know, the batter's boxes will replace probably 2-3 times a year. The mound will break down a little bit, but the extra density turf in the infield should buy us a little bit more time, and we wanted to make sure we definitely didn't skimp on the quality of turf that we got. New outfield fence by Carnahan White. They did a great job with that. It's a metal fence all the way around. It's 12 foot all the way around, so it's what the center field batter's eye used to be, but the only spot it's a little bit lower is the scoreboard because we didn't replace that, so it's a little 8-foot cutout. So the scoreboard can still be seen from everywhere. New foul poles. We tore down the benches. The team built new benches in the dugouts. We have new bat racks. We transformed our container that houses the mower that we no longer need and the bunker rake we don't need into like a pitcher's clubhouse with 2 overhead doors and some lights in there, and it'll be some weights. So we're going to have a camera system. It's a 6-camera system that is kind of an AI run system that anyone can access any of the 6 cameras from anywhere in the country. And if you want to watch your son play first base and not watch any rest of the game, you could just watch the first base camera the entire time.
What about lights? New lights too, I assume?
Nope. Lights are the same. Lights still work. To get new lights was $587,000. So that was not on the list of the most important things to get done. We would still like to do the stands. That's kind of the next phase that we have in terms of asking donors and raising funds, is we'd like to pretty much gut the stands, leave the press box for now, but go full concrete and then build up some stands. And so that's kind of the next thing we'll get moving once we get done with all this. But we still have a little bit of work on the field and then a little bit more work at what we call Lake Meador, that if you drive by today, Lake Meador, I've been told is in full effect today.
Well, so you know, the main goal was to get this playable and ready to go for spring of 24 now. So there are phases, and there's plenty of things you still want to do in conjunction with the park board to make it the best facility in town.
Yeah, we would like to, we'd like to host big events, and this summer we've got quite a few. We haven't really released all those things yet, but we're going to have some high school games there that we're letting teams play and, show off the facility. I think we have 5 different tournaments coming throughout the year. We're going to have some 11U tournaments because my son's 11, so we're going to bring some teams in so we don't have to travel around the country to play. We're going to host an MLB pitch hit and run on June 20th, I believe the date is. We'll put more information out about that, but we're excited to do that and be the area representative for the MLB pitch hit and run. And then gives us a chance to be the best Division II park in the region, where we recruit against and are compared against, other programs in the region that have all turf and have a field on campus. And we obviously couldn't fit a field on campus, although I have walked it off numerous times that if we take some parking lots and buildings out, we can. But
they're not all for that at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had a great relationship with the U.S. Ballpark, now Sky Bacon Stadium, and the move down there. Talk about how maybe this changes things in terms of recruiting, the type of team you'll field going back to Meador, which, when Meador was the home for Drury when it fired back up in 2007, it was definitely a hitter's park and a little harder to recruit pitchers to the program back in that day for Coach Hag and Stratton. But how will things change now? Will it change your philosophy and your recruiting approach?
Yeah, things have been great down there. I mean, we had 8 years down there, and obviously there's a lot of activity down there. But to be able to have an all-turf field at minimal cost and a great stand area and concessions for our fans, and that's all great. The biggest thing for us was we would like our own park for our guys to have a consistent home where we know we can get on there whenever we want. All hours of the day, 365 days. The university would like to have a revenue-generating field, and that allows us to do this. It allows us to host things in the summertime, and then it gives our guys a place that they know is the home of Drury Baseball going forward. And one of the things in recruiting is we would take kids out to U.S. Ballpark, which is, well, which is a great place once you get there. But you kind of finish your visit with a 20-minute trip down to Ozark away from campus. And although we don't do that trip all the time, because we would still use Meador in the past when it was grass and use our indoor facilities, which are great, it was just kind of always a little bit of a letdown to know that, well, we just left campus for 20 minutes, let's head on back and eat lunch. And parents and families start to think, hey, we got to jump on the highway all the time to do this every day for practice. That's quite a bit of travel. So it definitely has cost us some recruits.
Can't tell you how many times that I appreciated Meador Park in my time at Drury as the SID when I could run from there back to my office at Drury between games and pick something up I'd forgotten. That was very convenient too. But, just the location by the mall, plenty of restaurant options there. I know that you're a big thinker and big picture. I'm sure you've got some food opportunities that'll be new too coming out there.
Yeah, if you go in the concession stand right now, it is not ready for the 16th, but we're working on that. We've got a Blackstone that my dad has said he's going to come out and grill for us, so we'll try to find some people to be on the grill. Our goal is to try to have a food truck out there for every doubleheader day this year, so I'm starting to work on that and trying to give more food options, be open to having people bring food into the park. We want it to be a place where you're driving down Sunset, you've got 45 minutes free, and you see a game going on, and you jump into the park and catch some innings, and that's not something we've been able to do the last couple of years. And, just want to build the game and bring people back to the first baseball stadium in town. I think maybe Nichols was before Meador, and maybe even Silver Springs, but, I think in early 60s was when games started happening at Meador, and to have nothing on it really the last 7 years, that's something we wanted to change, and we want to grow the game from the middle. I know Springfield's a basketball town, but having an all-turf field now right in the middle of town hopefully can work our way back to being a baseball town.
And you mentioned catch a couple of innings if you got 45 minutes. You might be able to pitch a couple of innings depending on which way the wind's blowing too if you've got some arm left, right?
If you show up on a midweek game in April, we're going to need some pitching. So just enter in the left field gate as always and just hang out down there with our pitchers.
Yeah, I'll never forget, and it very rarely happened, but I remember when Coach Stratton got tossed one time and he was able to go down and sit in the shed and watch it. Is that still a possibility, or will it be a little nicer shed now?
Well, that current shed is sitting in the parking lot, and we are actually trying to figure out how we're going to get it back into the place because most of the gates are closed up and we don't have it back in. We are getting a new gator. There was a gentleman who I believe is now in jail who had broken into that building and was living there for a little while, so we need to get that place cleared out. There's still a lot to do. I sent a list to our staff, pages deep of what we need to do. We got to put new pads on the dugout, and we need to make sure we paint up the green wall for the foul pole when the foul pole to get set up, and get the new UTV, and the pitch clocks need to get installed here next week, and making sure trash cans are out. Just things that you haven't had to do the last few years because we haven't had fans in the stands. So first home game is February 16th, and then big dedication on March 2nd. That's really the calendar date we're trying to push to have everyone out there.
And by the way, you need to get a baseball team ready to play in mid-February too, right? Among all these other things.
Yeah, we got practice. So we got practice and games. So there's some D2 teams that open up this weekend. We don't play until the 16th. So we still have a few weeks to go, thankfully, since the field's not ready. But yeah, we return most of our offense. We return a really good group of pitchers, and then we're very young beyond that. So we need some young pitchers to step up and have some competition for some spots for sure, offensively and defensively. So the next 3 weeks would be big for us to, the focus has been Meador and fundraising for me, and has really taken away from the amount of coaching I've been able to do the last year and a half. And so now that we've got this done, I'm excited to devote more time back into what I really love doing, coaching and not fundraising.
You've done an amazing job of getting this thing up and ready to go. And it's no secret times are tough for colleges across the country. Budgets are being cut, sports are being cut. Talk about how this dream came to fruition. How many years ago was it in the making, and what was the initial step that you were able to convince your administration and folks that, hey, we can do this?
Yeah, I think it started really way back when I started being a GA. My dad's in fundraising, and so he worked at a bunch of nonprofits. So when he would tell me he was going on trips to ask people for money for the higher ups, the Walmarts, and everyone around town, and say see if they got any extra money to Turf Meador. And so it was just kind of a running joke around the program for years, And then when you started seeing more and more fields pop up with turf, it was something that was probably inevitable that we have a field already sitting here. The Parks wants us to take care of it and have games here that give us an opportunity to find money. So at the time was able to convince President Cloyd and Corey Bray that I would like to pursue, fundraising, and the Parks was not in a position to raise those funds at that time. So we started, Marie Mulvick and I, asking for large gifts, and got shot down a lot. And as Stratton said, I got turned down more than a bedspread, and had a lot of meetings where had good positive vibes, and then nothing came of it. But then had a handful of donors that stepped up in a big way. Scott Jacobs being one of those first donors that said they were on board, and then Brian Majors pulled the trigger a few days before our deadline. Had an anonymous donor make a very generous donation, and he helps out with a ton of things in town and never wants his name attached to it. And then John Cooper with Harry Cooper has been one of our best donors, just because he helped us with a lot of in-kind stuff. So that went a long way, And then families that have current kids and former kids and alumni and current big leaguers who are alums have given, and people who have no affiliation with the program that just want to see this part come back to. I went and watched my grandfather play games there when I was a kid, or, I played baseball there when I was a kid. And then even going down to the advertising we have advertising all over the outfield wall with Will Fisher and Ally HVAC. And I think we have 17 advertisers out there on the outfield wall that we're going to put up this week. So that green wall becomes fully advertised by the end of the week.
Great stuff. And again, the first game at the new Meador Park, the refurbished Meador Park, February 16th. Through the 18th, Missouri Western's in. That's a Friday through Sunday. Am I correct? Was it Missouri Western back in 2007 for the first one or not?
No, Truman State was that first game.
That's right.
But I think we played Mo West. I think the second series there.
Is that going to be kind of special for you? I mean, you were an assistant when it opened up for college baseball the first time in 2007 for D2 baseball, and now again this time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. A lot of our alums are wanting to come down and reaching out, and I think we'll have a lot of people who came to the games back in the past that maybe the little trip on the highway prevented them from coming the last couple of years. But to have camps and to have games out there and to put the lights on when we need to and play some JV games out there, it's going to be a fun time. That's for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the baseball. You touched on it a second ago, but you've got a majority of your guys back from a team that won 30 games last year, went 19-6 at home at Sky Bacon Stadium down there. But one thing I look at it is, and knowing you going back to 2007, how has the GLVC makeup changed in baseball? I mean, I know Quincy's still there as a big rivalry, but it used to be Southern Indiana and Bellarmine and teams like that have gone out to try the D1 level. What is the league like now for the Panthers in 24?
Yeah, I kind of make a joke that the GLVC is kind of the OVC East, that if you win in the GLVC, you kind of just automatically get placed in the OVC. So it's changed, if you come out to Meador, we have from 2007, I guess 2006, Mike Choate put all the bricks up of all the teams that are in the league and their names, and they're all up there still. So you have SIUE, you have St. Joe College, which closed down. You have Bellarmine, you have Southern Indiana. Someone else is in there too.
Northern Kentucky, were they on there?
Yeah, Northern Kentucky was in there, but now you have Illinois Springfield, who has been one of the best teams in the league for a while. Indy made the World Series last year. Maryville jumped from D3 to us, and they've been competitive. We've added William Jewell, Truman State. We added Upper Iowa, unfortunately, this year, that we got to make some 8-hour northern trips into the snow in March. But, we got 14, 15 teams in the league, 14 teams this year, and then Lincoln is going to join us next year. They're going to add baseball. So There's a little bit of disparity in the league just in terms of who has scholarships and who doesn't, and what the facilities look like. And hopefully with our facilities, we're a little bit more in the haves instead of the have-nots.
And again, 12 years, or entering your 12th year as a head coach, and a different world now in NCAA sports across the board. How has the transfer portal benefited or not benefited you? Have you had any NIL dealings that people ask about it? Kind of give us the state of the union for Division II baseball at Drury right now in those regards.
Yeah, we've always done pretty well with transfers. We probably get more 4-year transfers than we do junior college kids, just because sometimes the financial or the academic things that come along with Drury are a little bit too much for junior college kids. But what it's done is just made the information more accessible to others. If you have good relationships among coaches in your region, you'll find out about who's transferring and when. Now all you have to do is pull up the app, and you can kind of see who's in there and get their contact information. So ultimately, we're competing with more people than we used to for transfers, which is good for the kids and good for the programs, I guess. We haven't really lost many of our kids to, hey, I'm going to leave and go try to find something better. We had a couple kids with their COVID year go play a couple different spots because we didn't have their graduate program or couldn't do a scholarship with a grad program. And Aaron Mann went out to St. John's and was a Big East All-Player of the Year, and Steven Randazzo went up to Maryville and ended up playing there because they had his degree. So I'm for it. I want the kids to make sure they make good decisions out of high school, and sometimes that doesn't happen for whatever reason it may be. But that's why we never try to rush guys into decisions here. If we have a kid visit, we want to make sure that they're making a commitment for 4 years, not for 2, not for 1, not for only if I start. We want to pick Drury because it's a great academic school. It's in a great town. They love the facilities. They love the small classes. They can financially afford it. And they understand that they're getting into a program that's starting to become established and have big roots with their alumni, and now we have great facilities.
One thing I've always loved about Drury, and Keith does the same thing down the road, but you'll always see local kids on the roster. And I know it may mean they go somewhere else and you bring them back as transfers. But, I look down your roster now, and you got a Shafitzel from Hillcrest, and a Burke from Galena, and a Harrington from Republic, and McInnes from Kickapoo, Kaiser from Willer, a couple Glendales there with Elmer and Carter Lewis. That's always going to be your bread and butter, isn't it? Is find the local kids, whether they start with you or whether they go away and come back.
Yeah, kids want to play in front of their families, and their families want to watch their kids play, and it's easier to do that if you're within a couple hours or a few minutes of playing. So, if there's enough talent in town, which there definitely is, we would love to keep those kids local. It has to be a good fit on all aspects, academically, athletically, financially. It needs to be a good fit. And, some kids want to get away and go away for college, and I can't change where Drury is, so that's one thing. But, if the kid wants to allow their families the ease of being able to see games and play locally, it's one of the reasons why Luke Burke decided to come back is, he went to Neosho, had a great year there. 2 years there, went to Auburn, and then he got 8 at-bats at Auburn. And, his dad and grandpa and great uncle are jumping in the car every weekend watching games, but not getting to see him play. And, he said, I really just want to have my family see me play, and I want to get back on the field. And so last year, he had 15 doubles, 10 home runs, and 44 ribbies, and played every single game for us. So we would love to keep local kids local, that's for sure. After that, we'll try to go outside, but still try to find guys really within the 3-4 hour window.
There's something about baseball in the Ozarks that people get jobs and they don't leave, and they stay put. And, you see it at the high school levels. We've got great high school baseball in the Ozarks. The college levels, you learn from a great one there, and Mark Stratton and Coach Hag and those guys, and you've carried on with that to what you've been doing for the last dozen years. But it started back in high school with Strat, but then you went over with Keith Guttin at Missouri State and became a Bear. And kind of talk about what those two guys, Stratton and Guttin in particular, meant to you, what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think Stratton just kind of instilled the family values that you need to have if you want to run a program. Doing the right things for the right reasons, and surrounding yourself with kids that kids and families that are doing the right things, and kids you want to be around. We spend a lot of time away from our families with the team and with the staff, and if we're going to sacrifice the family time, and the wife and kids are going to be on their own from January until May more often than they deserve to be, then I want to be around people I enjoy being around. So Stratton kind of instilled that in our program, that 1, you got to be a good person, 2, you got to be a good student, and 3, you got to be able to play. We're trying to win around here. We want to be competitive, but we're going to do that with people that we enjoy, that do the right thing. And then playing for Coach Guttin, now that I'm in year whatever as a coach, 18 maybe 17, 18. Just the consistency he's had over there, the loyalty to the program. It's wild that there's been 2 head coaches at SMS and Missouri State in the entire program, and how many years and big league ball players they've had. But that's something I've kind of inspiring to do here, is that I know every single alum in our program, as does Coach Guttin, that I have a cell phone of every single player that's ever played for us at Drury, and I can reach out to them, invite them to a game, see how their families are doing. Know that Dallas Williams' wife got stuck in the grass yesterday after she was working out, and talking to RJ Neese, because our coaches or our sons play together on an 11U team, and texting with Trevor Richards before he goes out to spring training, that I want to continue to build those relationships, and it's definitely something we try to do well here at Drury.
And special shout out, you mentioned Coach Stratton and family, to his granddaughter Reese. I know she's going through some health issues down in Houston again, and what a battler she is. A great example of that toughness and that mentality, isn't she?
Yeah. Reese came out battling CHD and had that surgery. That was in 2013, probably. It's probably 2013, and kind of knew this was going to happen, right? I think when she was born, that when she turned 10, 11, that she was going to have this other surgery. But she's as tough as nails, that's for sure, and she's got a great support system with Roy and Sarah and the whole clan. I think Stratton Gay were down there for a little while. I think they're back up here now, but the Stratton family is pretty legendary on how they support each other in the community, and we definitely have prayers out for Reese.
Absolutely. Hang in there, Reese. Keep fighting. Guttin, this is the swan song for the guy over there that we've both known forever, and his final season as the Bears coach. Your thoughts on his retirement and what he's meant to baseball in this area?
Yeah, it's something that it's been a staple in the community, where you see people jump from job to job, and with a lot of the sports over there as well, is that you need to have some stability with your coaching staff if you want to have some stability in the program, and that's something that Coach Guttin has done a fantastic job with. That if you're being recruited over the course of the last 35 years, that he's going to be your coach, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is how you're going to be treated, and that doesn't happen very many places. To have 1,200 wins, maybe. Yeah, he's somewhere right around there. 1,200 wins is top 5 all time, and so to know that through the ups and the downs that he's going to be there for you, and put together a great staff and great facilities, and one of the most knowledgeable and legendary coaches of the sport, and to have them in our town definitely boost our town in terms of being a baseball city.
It seems like with the time he's been there that this ought to be one of those, like the NBA guys, where every venue he visits this spring, there ought to be some kind of a gift or a farewell gift or something. What would you give Coach Guttin?
Probably a coat. He's always got numerous layers of coats on, so he's always been very cold-natured. So if you see him out there, he's on the top step for sure, but he's definitely got 2-3 coats on. So now that he's going to retire, and he's still going to be out there, I'm sure, in the stands. So he might need one more layer of warmth for February baseball.
Any good Guttin horror stories from your playing days?
So we were playing at Price Cutter back in the day. It was when it was grass, so this would have been either freshman or sophomore year before Hammond's, and we get Quiznos pretty much for lunch every single time, just like our guys get Chick-fil-A, or they get half a gargantuan sub from Jimmy John's, and everyone gets sick of it. We would either get Arby's or we'd get Quiznos, because Quiznos was in the gas station right up the street, and we were losing to someone. I don't know what it was, but it was after a doubleheader. So everyone has had their Quiznos, which was made at probably 11 o'clock, and you're eating it at 2, and they toast their subs, which are great if you eat them right away, but if you eat them 3.5 hours later, they're soggy, and it's half shredded lettuce. So everyone takes their lettuce off, and by the end of the game, you got lettuce everywhere, mustard packets everywhere. G comes down into the dugout, and it was either G or 20, one of the two, to kick a trash can or move, and slipped on the mustard packets and shredded lettuce that was all over the ground. And it was one of those where you have to turn your head and try not to laugh, because you know that he's doing that because someone on the team isn't performing well enough. But to see someone slip on some shredded lettuce was a tad enjoyable at the time.
I need to line up about 10 or 15 of you guys and with a Guttin story each for the farewell there. We may see if we can do that, because I've heard the famous playing football, touch football when you're not supposed to, and there was one story about him trying to climb over the outfield fence when he got ejected and he couldn't get over the fence or something. There's a lot of them out there, aren't there?
Yeah, we had one that was not so memorable for any of us down at Ole Miss after we took a loss down there in the morning on the way back. So, but that's those are the memories that you always remember, and sometimes now as a coach you try to forget. That's for sure.
Well, February 16th, the grand reopening of Meador Park, Mark Orley Field at Meador Park, 16th to the 18th of Missouri Western. Is that a Friday, March 2nd, or Saturday, that official ceremony?
It's a Saturday. Saturday at 11:30, 11:40 is probably when we'll start the ceremony. We'll put some information out here pretty soon. We are going to have 500 snapback hats, courtesy of J.J. Sobuski at Carson's Nursery. So first 500 in the park will get a Drury logoed hat with a leather patch on the front. It's a pretty cool hat. It's a doubleheader Saturday, single Sunday against Augustana. And, Augustana made the World Series last year. They've won the national title before, so that'll be a tough weekend. We're not bringing any cookies in that weekend, that's for sure.
Awesome. Naz, great job on what you've done at this point. Hope you have a great spring, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate the coverage, and we'll see you out there.
Time for our Scott's Thoughts segment, where I ramble on about things that are either bothering me or I want to praise out there in the world of sports locally. Start off with the fact that I am tired of football offensive coaches feeling the need to show us they are geniuses. Let's take the Chiefs, for example. Isaiah Pacheco's getting 8, 9, 10 yards a run down the field. Chiefs get down inside the 5-yard line. It's time to go score. And what do? They dial up a jet sweep from a tiny receiver, leads to a fumble, or they try a shovel pass to an eligible tackle. Cutesy stuff like that. Here's the deal. Give the ball to Pacheco. Let him run straight ahead like he does, like a car running through basically a hay bale. And then I will consider you a genius because you've done the right thing there to get it done and get the job done and get the touchdown. That's not just the Chiefs. That's happened in a lot of places if you watch football these days. Moving on, there's something terribly wrong down at Arkansas with the basketball team. Coach Eric Musselman's squad has no chemistry. They have no clue on what they're trying to do on offense. And there's no effort on defense or rebounding. That's a bad combination all the way around. Coach Muss seems to come to the press conferences and say they're not listening, we're telling them to do this and all that. Here's the deal. You're paid $4.2 million a year to make them listen and to pick the players who will listen to you. So that's on you, Muss. Don't try to pass it off. If you've got 15 guys on the roster, play the 5 that want to listen to you and want to play hard. And, of course, this is not great timing for the Razorbacks to hit this little slump that they're in right now because ESPN's College Game Day comes to Fayetteville on Saturday to Bud Walton Arena for a matchup with Kentucky. So he's pulled them out of this type of thing before. He may have more talent than he's had since he's been down there with this group, but they got to figure it out here pretty quick. Speaking of trying to figure it out, I'm not sure why, don't get me wrong, I like Dana Ford, a great person. I think he's been good for Springfield, but I'm not sure why Missouri State just doesn't go ahead and pull the plug on this era now. Maybe name assistant coach Jay Spoonhour as the interim. Of course, he's the son of the late, great coach Charlie Spoonhour. And let Jay kind of give it a crack for the last 5 to 6 weeks of the season. See if there's a little spark they can catch there and turn this thing around. Because, one, it eliminates any suspense with Bears fans as to whether the Missouri State administration is going to pull the trigger after another disappointing year. You get that done now. You've told them, okay, this job will be open after the end of the season. Number two, well, that might put a few more butts in the seats too because there's a little bit of hope. But number two, it also gives Jay Spoonhour a chance to see if he can get this team rallied and maybe make himself a candidate for that job. So I could see a twofold of benefit there. Of course, as we mentioned, the Bears play Drake Wednesday night. They'll probably beat Drake at home and make this all a moot point. But if they don't, if it's another bad home showing, it may be time to go ahead and maybe make Spoonball 2 a thing for at least a few weeks here. Finally, our hats off to former Lebanon basketball star Reagan McCowan, who is lighting it up as a freshman at Western Illinois. She's averaging about 15 points and 7 rebounds a game. She's been named the freshman of the week in their conference multiple times. In this new age of transfer portal movement and poaching of talent, it's going to be very interesting after the season's over to see who is lighting up her phone and trying to figure out if she wants to come closer to home or maybe move up to another level of D1 basketball there. Also, we want to let you know that one of the easiest ways you can stay connected with our podcast and all of the Around the Ozarks content is through the Around the Ozarks app. With Around the Ozarks app, you have access to the audio versions of every podcast all in one place. That includes Around the Ozarks in 5, Wake Up Weather with Abby Dyer, Rewind with Woody and Janet, this podcast, Sports Scene Around the Ozarks, and then Ned Talk with Ned Reynolds, among many more. And if you like the video version Around the Ozarks in 5 or Wake Up Weather, they're accessible on the app there too. Just click on our big logo on the scroll at the very top of the app. We know that on Facebook or social media it may be hard sometimes to find the latest episode, so the app makes it easy to find and listen to or watch us anytime, anywhere. Just go to your phone's app store, search for Around the Ozarks, and download the app. That's going to do it for this week's pod. A big thank you again to our new sponsor, Fast Break Sports, home of the area's largest collection of cards and supplies. And as always, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.